The Great Crusade, the most ambitious and far-reaching campaign in the history of the Imperium, was not just a battle for conquest and glory. It was an epic-defining moment. Led by the Emperor, it saw the reunification of humanity under the banner of the Imperium, spanning across the galaxy. Yet, as time has passed, and the fires of the Crusade have long since cooled, the truth about those years has become increasingly obscured, shrouded in layers of propaganda, secrecy, and the ravages of war. But what if there are those who still remember? Living witnesses who have seen the rise and fall of heroes, the slaughter of worlds, and the terrible revelations that were once kept hidden from the rest of humanity. The surviving figures from the Great Crusade hold the keys to secrets that could change everything we think we know about the early days of the Imperium. They are the last living links to a time when the Emperor walked among us, when the Primarchs were not yet legends but leaders, and when the fate of the galaxy was still being forged in the fires of war. Who are these survivors, and what do they know? What truths have they locked away, unwilling to reveal, or perhaps too terrified to speak? These are the questions that linger in the back of the minds of those who study the Great Crusade. In the coming segments, we will explore the enigmatic figures who remain, what they might be hiding, and why the secrets of the past are more dangerous than ever before. Let's step into the shadows of history and uncover the mystery of the living witnesses of the Great Crusade. The Emperor. The name alone stirs something deep within the heart of every imperial citizen. For millennia, we've been told he is the eternal protector, the god of humanity, the being who united the human race and crafted the Imperium. His image is etched into the very fabric of our reality, and his ideals echo through the halls of Terra itself. Yet, what if the Emperor, the towering figure we worship, the one we revere, is not the man we think he is? What if the truth of his nature lies buried beneath centuries of myth, manipulated by those who served him and those who fear him? The few survivors who were there during the Great Crusade, the ones who stood by his side in the beginning, are the living remnants of a time that has been distorted by time itself. They are the silent witnesses to the Emperor's true self, to the decisions and choices that shaped the galaxy, and to the very vision that ultimately led to the Imperium we know today. The stories they carry are not those of the Emperor as a god, but of a man, a ruler with unimaginable power, yes, but also a man whose plans were complex, whose motives were often hidden, and whose true intentions have become something of a shadow, lost in the passage of time. Take, for example, Malcador the Sigillite. One of the most trusted men of the Emperor, Malcador stood at his side during the Crusade, serving as his right hand in both politics and war. Yet, despite his importance, Malcador's true thoughts on the Emperor remain largely unknown. It's been said that Malcador was the only one who truly understood the Emperor's plans. But what did he know? Was he privy to the Emperor's vision of humanity's future? Was he aware of the grand scheme that involved the manipulation of psychers, the creation of the Primarchs, and the ultimate betrayal that would come during the heresy? Some theorists believe that Malcador was more than just a loyal servant. He was a gatekeeper of knowledge, a man who kept secrets even from the Emperor himself. And there's more to consider. Malcador's role in the founding of the Inquisition raises questions about what the Emperor might have truly believed about the threat of chaos. Was the Emperor's quest for unity built on a foundation of idealism, or was it a desperate, calculated move to prepare humanity for the horrors yet to come? We may never know the full extent of his thoughts, but one thing is clear. He was not the infallible, perfect being that so many believe him to be. The Emperor had his flaws, and those who served him knew them well. Then there is the ever-present shadow of the Emperor's most trusted soldiers, the Adeptus Custodes. These towering warriors were more than just guards. They were the Emperor's closest confidants, the ones who fought at his side during the Great Crusade. Their loyalty to him was unwavering, yet even they remained silent on many matters. They saw things, knew things, and fought in battles that have since become legends. The Custodes were the living embodiments of the Emperor's will, yet despite their proximity to him, they never fully understood his true nature. Perhaps they never asked the hard questions, or perhaps they too were content to accept the Emperor's vision without challenging it. After all, they were bred for loyalty, not for questioning. The most intriguing and mysterious figures, however, are those who were part of the Emperor's inner circle, the ones who were privy to his most guarded secrets. These figures, whose names have been lost to history or obscured by the weight of time, are the true key to understanding the Emperor's intentions. Were they silent out of loyalty, fear, or something else entirely? What secrets did they carry with them into the dark corners of the galaxy, and are they still hiding them today? The truth is, the Emperor was a man of contradictions. He was a visionary, yes, but he was also a man who made difficult, often morally ambiguous decisions. His true nature cannot be understood through the lens of blind reverence or unquestioning obedience. The surviving witnesses of the Great Crusade are the only ones who can truly reveal the complexity of the Emperor's character. But even they, bound by duty, fear, or their own personal beliefs, may never reveal the full extent of what they know. Some fans have theorized that the Emperor's real nature was not one of pure altruism, as the Imperium has led us to believe, but that of a ruler willing to sacrifice anything, humanity, even his own soul, for the greater good of the galaxy. His vision was grand, yes, but it was also dangerously manipulative. Did he foresee the Great Heresy? Was he aware of the fragility of his own power, even before it was shattered by Horus's rebellion? Or was he too a man who was so consumed by his vision of the future that he failed to see the seeds of his own destruction growing around him? There are still many questions left unanswered about the Emperor's true nature, and those who witnessed the Great Crusade, those who fought at his side, hold the keys to unraveling the mystery. They know the truth. Whether they are willing to share it with the galaxy is another matter. But one thing is certain. The Emperor's shadow still looms large, and the truth of who he truly was may never be fully revealed. The Adeptus Astartes, the Emperor's finest warriors, are nothing short of legendary. These superhuman soldiers were the Emperor's ultimate creation, the pinnacle of his genetic engineering and military vision. Born of the Emperor's dream for a united humanity, the Space Marines were crafted to serve as the sharp edge of the Imperium's will, to spread his gospel of unity and strength across the stars. But who truly understands the origins of the Astartes? Who, among the living witnesses of the Great Crusade, knows the full scope of the Emperor's intentions for these warriors, beyond what we are told in the tales of heroism and sacrifice? The truth is, despite their celebrated role in the Crusade, the Space Marines are as much a mystery as they are a weapon. Their creation, the methods behind it, and the Emperor's ultimate vision for them are wrapped in secrecy, obscured by time, and distorted by the endless war they have fought for millennia. There are only a few figures who could possibly hold the answers to these questions, and many of them have long since disappeared into the annals of history, leaving behind only fragmented accounts and the whispered words of those who served alongside them. The most obvious candidates for knowing the Emperor's true vision for the Astartes are the Primarchs, their gene fathers, the warriors who were designed to lead the legions. These towering figures, each one a reflection of the Emperor's will, were created to embody the ideals of the Imperium, to act as paragons of strength, leadership, and loyalty. Yet, even among the Primarchs, there is much that remains shrouded in secrecy. Some of them, like Horus, embrace their father's vision wholeheartedly, while others, like the enigmatic Robut Guilliman, seem to have a deeper understanding of the Emperor's grand plans. It is believed by some that Guilliman, as the Primarch of the Ultramarines, had an insight into the true purpose of the Space Marines that others did not. He was one of the few who took the Emperor's vision of the Imperium as a structure of governance seriously, and he took it upon himself to draft the Codex Astartes, which sought to organize the disparate legions into a cohesive force. Guilliman's efforts have been both praised and criticized. Some see him as a visionary who sought to ensure the survival of the Imperium, while others view him as someone who missed the point of the Emperor's true vision, focusing too much on structure and order rather than the raw power of the Astartes as weapons of war. However, it is clear that the Emperor's plans for the Astartes went beyond mere military conquest. The Space Marines were not just soldiers. They were the foundation of the Imperium's very existence. Their creation was an expression of the Emperor's belief in the future of humanity, one where mankind would dominate the stars, a future that required strength, resilience, and sacrifice. The Emperor's intent was not only to craft the perfect soldiers, but to create an idealized vision of humanity itself. These warriors were meant to be the embodiment of the Imperium's ideals, and through their genetic perfection, they were to lead humanity into a new era. But the question remains, did the Emperor fully reveal his true intentions to his creations? Were the Astartes ever told the full story of their origins, or were they simply weapons in a grand galaxy-spanning game of power and survival? Some theorists believe that the Emperor deliberately kept the truth from the Astartes, fearing that they might question their purpose or rebel against the harshness of their creation. It's been suggested that the Emperor's relationship with his sons, the Primarchs, was not one of complete transparency. While he may have shared his grand vision for the Imperium, the darker, more complicated aspects of the Space Marines' creation were likely kept hidden from them. Some even argue that the Emperor's inability to be fully open with his sons may have contributed to the betrayal of Horus and the eventual fragmentation of the Imperium. In the case of the Astartes themselves, many of them were no more aware of the true nature of their creation than the common citizens of the Imperium. They were born to serve, trained to fight, and conditioned to believe that their purpose was simply to fight for the Emperor. Few among them questioned this. After all, they were the Emperor's chosen, the ultimate expression of his will. Yet, even within the ranks of the Astartes, there were whispers. It is believed that certain chapters, such as the Dark Angels, may have known more about their origins than the rest, particularly their involvement in the mysterious events surrounding the Horus heresy. Other chapters, like the Space Wolves, were less concerned with the Emperor's grand design and more focused on their own interpretation of duty and honor. But there are still those who question whether the Emperor ever truly intended for the Astartes to be more than just weapons of war. Were they meant to be more than the Emperor's enforcers, or were they always destined to be the tools of a greater, more terrifying plan? Was their creation merely a means to an end, or did the Emperor in his infinite wisdom have a deeper vision for them, one that we are only beginning to comprehend? The surviving figures who were there during the Great Crusade, those who stood beside the Emperor and fought in the name of the Imperium, are the ones who could answer these questions. They alone hold the keys to understanding the full scope of the Emperor's vision for the Astartes. But as time marches on and the Imperium continues its eternal war, these witnesses are becoming fewer and fewer, their knowledge slipping further into the mists of history. The secrets they hold may never be fully revealed, and the true nature of the Space Marines and their place in the Emperor's grand design may remain a mystery for all eternity. The Inquisition, often seen as the hidden hand that guides the Imperium from the shadows, is a force that stands apart from the rest of the Imperium's institutions. They are the keepers of secrets, the watchers of the galaxy's darkest corners, and the ones who maintain control over the most dangerous knowledge the Imperium has ever possessed. Created after the Emperor's unification of Terra, the Inquisition's original purpose was to root out heresy and protect humanity from the forces of chaos, alien threats, and the ever-present possibility of subversion from within. Yet, over the centuries, the Inquisition has become something far more insidious, a faction so secretive, so powerful, and so ruthless that even the highest-ranking members of the Imperium are often unaware of the full extent of its activities. At its core, the Inquisition has always been about controlling information. They are the gatekeepers of truth, deciding what the masses can know and what must remain buried. This has led to the preservation of countless secrets, some of which could shatter the Imperium if they were ever exposed to the light of day. Some fans argue that it's not just the threat of heresy or alien invasion that the Inquisition seeks to protect humanity from. It's the very truth of the Emperor's vision, the secrets of the Great Crusade, and the darker aspects of the Imperium's creation that remain locked away in the vaults of the Inquisition's most secretive chambers. Take, for example, the relationship between the Inquisition and the Emperor's true plans. Few within the Imperium know the full scope of the Emperor's intentions, and even fewer understand the sacrifices he made in order to craft his vision for humanity's future. Some theorists believe that the Emperor's secret goals were so far-reaching, so ambitious, that they would have been seen as heresy by many within the Imperium if they had been revealed. The Inquisition, in its role as the protector of the Emperor's legacy, may have been tasked with keeping these truths hidden, ensuring that no one, be it from within the Imperium or beyond, could uncover the true cost of the Emperor's vision. But it's not just about protecting the Emperor's secrets. The Inquisition also guards the dangerous knowledge of the heresy itself. The events surrounding Horus and the betrayal of the Emperor were not just a rebellion. They were a revelation that shook the very foundation of the Imperium and exposed the fragility of the Emperor's plan. The Inquisition has worked tirelessly to cover up the full truth of the heresy, creating false narratives and rewriting history in order to preserve the myth of the Emperor's perfection. But what if the Inquisition knows more about the heresy than they let on? What if they hold the key to understanding why the Emperor was unable to stop Horus, or why his vision ultimately failed? Some fan theories suggest that certain factions within the Inquisition may have even known about the Emperor's true motives all along. They could have been the ones who, in secret, helped cover up the horrors of the heresy, manipulating the Imperium's narrative to keep humanity united under the banner of the Emperor. These factions, like the Ordo Malleus or the Ordo Hereticus, are rumored to have kept records of the Emperor's true plans, locked away in secret vaults on distant worlds or in hidden chambers beneath the surface of Terra itself. If this is true, then it's not just the Chaos Gods or the alien races who hold secrets. Some members of the Inquisition may possess knowledge so dangerous that it could unravel the very fabric of the Imperium. The most troubling aspect of the Inquisition's role in keeping secrets is the idea that some of its members may have turned to the very forces they were meant to oppose. While the Inquisition is tasked with rooting out chaos, some believe that certain members, over time, became more willing to make deals with the forces of darkness in order to gain power or uncover forbidden knowledge. There are whispers in the shadows of the Imperium that some Inquisitors, driven by their thirst for knowledge, have willingly turned to chaos in order to gain access to the most dangerous and forbidden truths of the galaxy. These individuals are the true holders of the darkest knowledge, the ones who know exactly how deep the rabbit hole goes and are willing to embrace it for their own gain. The theory of the Renegade Inquisitor is one that has captured the imaginations of many fans. These are the Inquisitors who have crossed the line, who have dabbled in forbidden arts, and who have uncovered truths that should never be known. Some believe that these rogue Inquisitors are the true keepers of the most dangerous secrets of the Great Crusade. They are the ones who know what really happened during the Emperor's campaign, who understand the true nature of the Primarchs and the purpose behind their creation. These renegades are often described as the dark mirror of the Imperium, the ones who have seen what lies beyond the veil and have chosen to either keep it hidden or use it for their own purposes. But even if such renegade Inquisitors exist, what happens when they pass on their knowledge? Is it possible that the most dangerous secrets of the Great Crusade are passed down through generations of Inquisitors, locked away in their minds and their archives, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? Could there be a faction within the Inquisition who is waiting for the right moment to unleash the truth, to bring the Imperium to its knees by revealing the darkness that lies at the heart of the Emperor's plan? The Inquisition is the ultimate authority within the Imperium, operating above the law, above the reach of even the Emperor's most trusted servants. They hold the power to uncover and suppress the most dangerous knowledge, but in doing so, they also become the keepers of that knowledge. Some of them may seek to protect humanity by keeping these truths hidden, while others may see it as a means to control the galaxy. Regardless of their motivations, one thing is clear. The Inquisition's role in keeping secrets is one that will shape the future of the Imperium. And as the years go on, the questions about what the Inquisition knows and what they are willing to reveal will continue to haunt those who seek the truth. The Adeptus Mechanicus, the ancient and enigmatic faction that serves as the heart of the Imperium's technological prowess, is as much a mystery as it is a force of undeniable power. Born from the ashes of a broken human civilization, the Mechanicum was once a powerful group that played a crucial role in the Emperor's Great Crusade. They were not just engineers or artisans, they were the keepers of knowledge, the custodians of humanity's most dangerous and valuable secrets, and the architects of the technology that allowed the Imperium to flourish. Without them, the Imperium would have been nothing more than a dream, its military power and infrastructure crumbling to dust under the weight of its own ambitions. But what do we really know about the Mechanicum's true role during the Crusade? And what secrets might still be hidden in the vaults of their ancient temples, waiting to be uncovered? The Mechanicum's influence on the Great Crusade was profound, yet shrouded in secrecy. As the Emperor sought to reunite humanity and bring the galaxy under the Imperium's banner, he needed more than just soldiers. He needed the tools to maintain control over such a vast and diverse empire. The Mechanicum provided him with these tools, advanced technologies, powerful war machines, and the secrets of the ancient human civilizations that came before the Imperium. The creation of the Titans, the construction of the Imperium's most advanced starships, and the development of the weapons that would decimate whole worlds. These were the fruits of the Mechanicum's labor. Yet, despite their importance, the Mechanicum was not fully integrated into the Emperor's vision for the Imperium. They operated separately, with their own beliefs, their own agenda, and their own understanding of the Emperor's plans. Some fans believe that the Mechanicum's relationship with the Emperor was one of mutual necessity, but also one of suspicion. The Mechanicum, led by the mysterious Archmagos, followed the teachings of the cult Mechanicus, which revered the machine god, a being that many believed to be a manifestation of the Emperor's will, but also something far older, far more esoteric, and deeply tied to the secrets of the galaxy. While the Emperor was a figure of unity, the cult Mechanicus was a religion, an ideology that sought to elevate technology and knowledge to a near-divine status. This divergence of beliefs may have led to tensions between the Emperor and the Mechanicum, especially as the Great Crusade progressed. The Emperor saw the Mechanicum as necessary tools for his empire, but it's possible that he never fully trusted them. He relied on them to craft the weapons of war, but he may have kept them at arm's length, aware of their secretive nature and their strange rituals that bordered on the arcane. As the Crusade unfolded, the Mechanicum's role became more complicated. Their obsession with knowledge and technology, their reliance on the Omnissiah, the machine god, and their unwillingness to fully align with the Emperor's vision led to the division that would ultimately be revealed during the Horus Heresy. While the Mechanicum had been instrumental in the Emperor's war effort, they were also a faction that had their own ambitions. The betrayal of the Mechanicum's highest ranks by their leader, Magos Belisarius Cawl, during the heresy is still a topic of much debate among fans. Cawl, a figure who has lived for millennia and played a significant role in the creation of the Primaris Space Marines, has long been a shadowy figure. Some theorists believe that Cawl, and others like him, may have known more about the Emperor's plans than anyone outside of the Mechanicum. These secrets, buried deep within the Mechanicum's archives and hidden away in their cathedrals, may still hold the answers to some of the greatest mysteries of the Crusade. But what about the surviving members of the Mechanicum who were present during the Great Crusade? These figures, whose names have been lost to time or obscured by the secrecy of the Mechanicum itself, may hold critical knowledge of the Emperor's true vision and the role the Mechanicum played in the creation of the Imperium. Are they still out there, hidden among the ruins of the Imperium, guarding their secrets? Many believe that there are still those who were close to the Emperor, who understood the depths of his ambitions, and who carry the weight of those secrets with them to this day. The fact that the Mechanicum has remained so secretive, so isolated, only adds to the air of mystery surrounding them. Were they truly loyal to the Emperor, or did they simply use him as a means to further their own agenda? The Mechanicum's influence on the Crusade was not just about crafting weapons and technology. It was about shaping the very future of the Imperium itself. Their knowledge of ancient technologies, their understanding of the warp, and their mastery of machines made them indispensable to the Emperor's plans. But the true nature of their allegiance to him has always been in question. Some fans believe that the Mechanicum saw the Emperor as nothing more than a means to an end, using his vision to advance their own understanding of the machine god. This could explain why they were so quick to align with Horus during the heresy. Perhaps they were never truly loyal to the Emperor's vision, and instead sought to carve out their own path, one that would allow them to control the very forces of creation itself. In the end, the question remains: what do the surviving members of the Mechanicum know? What secrets do they carry with them, locked away in the depths of their machines and the vaults of their temples? Are they the true keepers of the Emperor's most dangerous knowledge, the ones who hold the key to understanding the true nature of the Crusade and the Emperor's ultimate vision? Or are they merely pawns in a larger game, their true purpose yet to be revealed? The Mechanicum's influence on the Crusade is undeniable, but its true role may never be fully understood, and the secrets they hold may remain hidden forever. The mystery of the Lost Legions, the Seku and Efaven, is one of the most enduring enigmas in the lore of Warhammer 40k. These legions, once part of the Emperor's original plan for the Great Crusade, were erased from history, their records expunged, their fates sealed in a shroud of secrecy. Even now, millennia after their disappearance, they remain the subject of endless speculation. Who were these legions? Why were they erased from the Imperium's history? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, what were they hiding? There are few things that stir the imagination of Warhammer fans like the Lost Legions. The mere mention of their names that we will never know, sends a chill down the spine of anyone who's delved deep into the annals of the Imperium's dark past. Some theorists believe that the erasure of the Seku and Efaven legions was not a mere accident, but a deliberate act, one shrouded in mystery and perhaps even treachery. But the questions surrounding their disappearance are not just about the what and the why, they're also about the who. Who among the surviving figures of the Great Crusade might still know the truth of what happened to them? Who might still hold the secrets of the Lost Legions carefully hidden away from the rest of the galaxy? One theory that has persisted for years is that the Emperor himself had a direct hand in the erasure of the Seku and Efaven legions. Some argue that the Emperor, as the great unifier of humanity, saw these legions as a threat, or at least as something he could not control. The true reasons for their disappearance remain a mystery, but one possible explanation is that the Emperor saw them as a failure of his grand design. Perhaps they were too unstable, too dangerous, or simply too different from the vision he had for his warriors. Others speculate that the legions may have been involved in events that threatened to destabilize the entire Crusade, forcing the Emperor to erase them from history in order to maintain his control over the Imperium. There is also the theory that the Seku and Efaven legions were not lost in the traditional sense. They were not destroyed, but rather exiled. Perhaps they were sent away, far beyond the Imperium's borders, to fight in wars that the Emperor did not want to acknowledge. This idea is supported by the fact that the fate of the Lost Legions is never explicitly detailed in the records of the time. Their disappearance is treated as an afterthought, as if the Imperium itself wished to forget that they ever existed. This notion that they were exiled or sent to the farthest reaches of the galaxy is a compelling one, as it aligns with the Emperor's penchant for secrecy and control. What if he sent the Lost Legions to distant, forgotten corners of the galaxy, never to return? Then, of course, there is the possibility that the legions themselves were complicit in their own erasure. Some fans theorize that the Seku and Efaven legions were destroyed or erased because of a dark secret they discovered about the Emperor's true intentions. Maybe they uncovered something that was so horrific, so disturbing, that they chose to disappear, either to protect themselves or to protect the Imperium from the knowledge they had gained. Perhaps the Emperor's vision of humanity's future was not as pure as it appeared, and the Lost Legions were the first to see the cracks in the facade. The most intriguing aspect of the mystery surrounding the Lost Legions is the possibility that they were hiding something even darker than their own existence. What if they were involved in forbidden knowledge, ancient rites, or dark pacts that the Emperor could not afford to have exposed? Some theories suggest that the Lost Legions may have been tied to the earliest manifestations of chaos, or perhaps they were aware of the true nature of the warp in a way that the Emperor was not willing to admit. There are whispers in the corners of the Warhammer community that the Lost Legions might have been involved in the creation of the first Chaos Space Marines, and that their fall from grace was a result of their secret dealings with the forces of chaos. But where do the survivors of the Lost Legions fit into this story? Who, if anyone, remembers what truly happened to them? The answer, as always, lies in the shadows. Some suggest that there may still be remnants of these lost warriors scattered throughout the galaxy, living in exile or in hiding, their memories of the Great Crusade still fresh in their minds. These survivors, if they exist, could hold the key to unlocking the mystery of the Lost Legions. Perhaps they have been living in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth, or perhaps they are too afraid to speak out, fearing the wrath of the Imperium or the Emperor's true agents. Among the many theories, there is one that stands out above the rest: the idea that the truth of the Lost Legions lies within the fabric of the Imperium itself. Perhaps the secrets of these legions are not just hidden within the memories of a few scattered survivors, but are embedded deep within the structures of the Imperium, buried in the vaults of the Adeptus Mechanicus, sealed away in the archives of the Inquisition, or locked behind the doors of the most secretive and dangerous factions within the Imperium. The truth of what happened to the 2 and F8th Legions may never be known, but it's possible that the knowledge of their fate is still locked away, hidden from the galaxy, waiting for the day when it will be revealed. The Lost Legions are a symbol of everything that the Imperium has sought to forget, an inconvenient truth that haunts the galaxy's past, a past that is often ignored or rewritten. As time passes and more witnesses of the Great Crusade fade into history, the memory of the Lost Legions grows fainter, their secrets slipping further away. But for those who still remember, for those who seek the truth, the mystery of the Lost Legions remains one of the greatest unsolved questions of Warhammer 40k. And perhaps, just perhaps, there are those still out there who know the truth, and one day they might be willing to share it. The Aeldari, the ancient and enigmatic race of Xenos, have always watched from the shadows, observing the rise and fall of empires across the galaxy. When the Emperor's Great Crusade began, sweeping across the stars with a power and fervor unmatched in human history, the Aeldari were already ancient, their civilization long past its prime. But they were not blind to the threat that the Imperium posed, nor were they unaware of the Emperor's grand design. In fact, their role during the Crusade is one of the most complex and layered in all of Warhammer 40k lore, filled with layers of manipulation, subtlety, and secret knowledge. To the Aeldari, the Great Crusade was both an opportunity and a threat. Their civilization, once the most powerful in the galaxy, had already witnessed the birth of the Imperium and the arrival of the Emperor with a mixture of dread and curiosity. While the Emperor's goals of unifying humanity seemed noble, the Aeldari saw the rise of the Imperium through a different lens. They understood better than anyone the perils of unchecked ambition, the dangers of uniting disparate species under a single banner. To them, the Imperium was a force that threatened to recreate the kind of chaos and destruction that had once nearly led to the Aeldari's downfall during the Fall, an event that had nearly torn their species apart. Many Aeldari, particularly those from the more ancient craft worlds, watched the Emperor's actions with a kind of cold detachment, calculating their options. They knew that humanity's rise, much like the fall of the Aeldari, could lead to cataclysmic consequences. After all, the Emperor himself was a figure of immense power, one who had united humanity not through diplomacy, but through sheer force of will and the destruction of all who stood in his way. The idea of a galactic empire ruled by a single entity, especially one with such a mysterious and terrifying agenda, was enough to make even the most stoic Eldar pause. But the question remains, what role did the Eldar actually play in the rise of the Imperium? The truth is, they were not passive observers, nor were they fully aligned with the Emperor's vision. The Eldar had their own interests to protect, their own ancient goals, and they were not about to simply allow a rising power like the Imperium to disrupt the delicate balance they had fought so hard to maintain. In many ways, the Eldar saw the Emperor's crusade as yet another threat to their survival, and their response to it was as cunning and subtle as one might expect from a race that had survived for millennia. It's often said that the Eldar played both sides during the Great Crusade. On one hand, some elements of their race were wary of the Imperium and its sweeping crusade, but on the other hand, the Eldar also saw potential in aligning themselves with the Emperor's forces, at least temporarily. They knew that the Emperor was a force unlike any other in the galaxy, and they were not foolish enough to dismiss him outright. The Eldar understood the value of maintaining relationships with powerful forces, even if they didn't fully trust them. Some Eldar, particularly the more politically minded factions like the Harlequins, were able to see the bigger picture, understanding that the Emperor's rise could be manipulated to their advantage. But for many, the Emperor represented something far more dangerous, an unknown quantity. They had seen the galaxy torn apart before, and they knew that if the Emperor's vision succeeded, it could lead to a return of the same kind of destruction that had once nearly destroyed their entire race. They had experienced the fall, the tragic collapse of their once mighty empire, and they were determined to prevent anything that might lead to such a fate again. So how did the Eldar view the rise of the Imperium? It's complicated. Some were willing to ally with the Emperor to some degree, seeing it as a temporary measure to maintain their own survival. Others, particularly the factions who had retreated into the webway, remained far more aloof, watching the human empire grow with a kind of detached interest, waiting for the right moment to intervene. They were not allies of the Emperor, but neither were they enemies, at least not directly. Their motivations were always carefully concealed, hidden beneath layers of intrigue and manipulation. The most tragic yet fascinating aspect of the Eldar's involvement in the Great Crusade is the role of the Exodites, those who had left the material universe long ago and fled to distant worlds. These Eldar, disconnected from the main lines of Eldar civilization, had always stood apart, and their response to the Imperium was one of total withdrawal. They had seen enough of the galaxy's destruction to know that the Imperium, no matter how grand its intentions, was merely a fleeting storm on the horizon, one that would eventually consume itself just as their own empire had. Some Eldar also came into contact with the Emperor's forces more directly. The Inari, a faction of Eldar that sought to unite the fragmented remnants of their people, believed that the Emperor's rise was part of a larger cosmic struggle, one that involved not just humanity but all of existence. To them, the Emperor was not just a human being, but a potential savior of their people, someone who could provide a way to avert the full destruction that had befallen their kind. This was a radical view, one that put them at odds with more traditional Eldar factions, who saw the Emperor as another manifestation of the dark, doomed future they had been trying to avoid for so long. Despite these factions, the most curious question remains: are there any Eldar still alive to tell the tale? The answer is, of course, yes. Some of the oldest and most secretive Eldar, those who have lived for millennia and walked through the most dangerous events in galactic history, still hold the key to understanding the true nature of their race's relationship with the Emperor and his Great Crusade. These Eldar are the keepers of ancient secrets, the witnesses to a time when their race was still powerful, and they understand the true consequences of what the Imperium's rise means. Some might still live in hiding, waiting for the galaxy to reach a point where they must finally reveal the truth. Yet the Eldar are a race of survivors, and as such, they rarely reveal themselves fully. They are too clever, too cautious to expose themselves to the danger of the Imperium's wrath. The Eldar know that their time has passed, and they are content to watch from the shadows, occasionally offering their knowledge when it suits their needs. But one thing is certain. If there are any Eldar still living who remember the Emperor's rise, they are keeping their secrets close, and the galaxy may never know the full extent of their involvement in the Great Crusade. The forces of chaos have always been a looming, insidious presence in the galaxy, their influence stretching back to the earliest days of the Imperium. The Great Crusade was not only a time of triumph and expansion for humanity, it was also the spark that ignited the flames of rebellion and corruption, a catalyst for the very forces that would ultimately tear the Imperium apart. But what do the forces of chaos truly know about the early days of the Imperium? Who among them witnessed the rise of the Emperor and the events that led to the Great Heresy? These are the questions that hang over the galaxy like a dark cloud, for the truth that the Chaos factions hold could be far more dangerous than anyone can imagine. To understand the knowledge that the forces of Chaos possess, one must first acknowledge the inherent paradox that lies at the heart of their existence. Chaos, unlike the Imperium, is not a singular entity. It is a collection of gods, cults, and legions, each with their own twisted agendas, their own visions of the universe, and their own reasons for opposing the Emperor and the Imperium. Yet despite their fragmented nature, they all share one common trait. They have all seen the truth of the Imperium's birth, its rise, and its fall. They know the secrets that the Imperium would rather keep buried, the truths that could shake the very foundations of the Empire. The most obvious source of knowledge about the early days of the Imperium lies with the Chaos Space Marines, particularly those who were once loyal to the Emperor and served in his legions. These warriors, now corrupted by the power of Chaos, were once the Emperor's greatest soldiers, his most trusted sons. They were the ones who fought alongside him during the Great Crusade, who shared in the victories, the betrayals, and the horrors of that time. And then, in a moment of catastrophic betrayal, they turned against him. They are the witnesses to the true nature of the Emperor's vision, and their knowledge of the events that led to the heresy is invaluable. Among these Chaos Space Marines, the leaders of the traitor legions are the most significant. Figures like Horus, once the Emperor's most beloved son and the war master of the Great Crusade, hold the key to understanding the Emperor's true nature. It was Horus, after all, who saw through the Emperor's plans and ultimately led the charge that tore the Imperium apart. But what did Horus truly know about the Emperor's vision? Some fans speculate that Horus was not just the tool of chaos, but that he understood something crucial about the Emperor's grand scheme, a truth so terrible that it drove him to rebellion. Was Horus aware that the Emperor was not the savior of humanity, but rather a ruler who would sacrifice everything for his vision of the future, even if it meant the destruction of the very thing he sought to protect? This knowledge, if it was truly known to Horus, would have been the catalyst for his fall to chaos. It's said that Horus was the first to see the Emperor as he truly was, flawed, imperious, and willing to use any means necessary to secure humanity's future. The other traitor Primarchs also possess pieces of this dark puzzle. Figures like Angron, Fulgrim, and Perturabo all saw the Emperor's plans in different lights, and their fall to chaos was shaped by their unique understanding of the Emperor's vision. But what if, like Horus, they too saw something that made them turn against their father? Perhaps they were not just puppets of the Chaos gods, but men who believed that the Emperor's vision was inherently flawed, doomed to lead humanity into a dark future. Their knowledge of the Emperor's true intentions could hold the answers to some of the greatest mysteries of the Great Crusade, answers that the Imperium would never want revealed. Of course, the forces of chaos are not just limited to the traitor legions. The Chaos gods themselves, particularly Tzeentch, the architect of fate, possess knowledge of the early days of the Imperium, knowledge that is hidden from all but the most devoted servants of the Warp. Tzeentch, with his mastery of manipulation and foresight, is the one who may have seen the threads of destiny unravel before anyone else. It is said that Tzeentch is the one who truly understands the Emperor's plan, the one who knows how the Emperor's grand vision will ultimately play out. And if this is true, then the forces of chaos may hold the key to understanding the true nature of the Imperium's origins. Perhaps the Emperor, in his desperation to secure humanity's future, was playing a game far more dangerous than anyone realized, one that was shaped by forces beyond his control, forces that even he could not understand. Then there is the question of the Chaos God's role in the heresy itself. Did they orchestrate it all? Some fans theorize that the Chaos Gods, particularly Khorne and Tzeentch, saw the potential in the Emperor's vision and decided to twist it to their own ends. After all, chaos thrives on conflict, on the struggle between opposing forces. The Emperor's crusade to unify the galaxy was, in many ways, a perfect storm for the gods of chaos, who feed on the destruction and chaos that result from war. Did the Chaos Gods manipulate the heresy from the shadows, guiding Horus and his traitors to the brink of rebellion in order to plunge the Imperium into an era of darkness and war? The answer to this question may never be fully known, but it is clear that the Chaos factions had their own stake in the outcome of the Great Crusade. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of the Chaos Forces' knowledge is the fact that many of them are still living, still waiting in the wings for the moment when the truth will be revealed. The traitor legions, with their twisted and corrupted leaders, still possess the memories of the Great Crusade. They know what the Emperor wanted, what he sought to accomplish, and what he was willing to sacrifice to make his vision a reality. They are the living witnesses to the truth of the Imperium's origins, witnesses who have embraced the dark powers of chaos and twisted the Emperor's grand design to suit their own needs. And yet, despite their power and their knowledge, they are still trapped in a never-ending cycle of war and chaos, never able to fully break free of the chains that bind them. The forces of chaos may know more about the Emperor's true nature and the early days of the Imperium than anyone could imagine, and as time goes on, the secrets they hold may be the key to understanding the ultimate fate of the Imperium and its Emperor. Whether these secrets will ever be revealed is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the forces of chaos will continue to whisper, continue to manipulate, and continue to play their part in the unfolding saga of the Imperium's dark history. Rogue traders, those enigmatic figures who operate on the fringes of the Imperium, often walking the fine line between law and chaos, have long been a source of intrigue and fascination. These individuals, granted vast autonomy by the Emperor himself, were sent to explore the unknown reaches of the galaxy, to bring back knowledge, resources, and, perhaps most importantly, control over the untamed regions of space that lay beyond the Imperium's immediate reach. But their role in the Great Crusade was far more than just the exploration of new worlds. They were, in many ways, the Emperor's eyes and ears in places where even his Astartes could not tread. Their interactions with the Imperium, though not always public, were crucial to the development of the Imperium's power and its eventual expansion. But did they, in their travels and dealings, learn secrets about the Emperor's plan? Could some rogue traders hold key insights into the true nature of his grand vision? It is said that the Emperor's trust in his rogue traders was absolute. These individuals were granted power beyond measure, with the Emperor's sanction allowing them to operate as they saw fit. A rogue trader's writ was almost as absolute as that of the Emperor himself, giving them authority over entire sectors of space. This immense freedom came with a great responsibility, of course, but it also allowed rogue traders to interact with strange alien races, uncharted worlds, and hidden factions that the Imperium could never hope to reach. Their role, though seemingly secondary to the grand scale of the Crusade, was nonetheless vital. They were the ones who brought back the secrets of the galaxy, the ones who explored the dark corners where the Imperium's reach had not yet touched, and the ones who often discovered things that the Emperor, for reasons unknown, could not or would not. Some theorists argue that rogue traders might have been more than just explorers. They may have been part of the Emperor's wider plan to consolidate humanity's dominion across the stars. It's not hard to imagine that the Emperor, ever pragmatic, would have seen the value in having a loose network of independent agents who could operate outside the rigid structure of the Imperium's bureaucracy. These rogue traders were, in a sense, the Emperor's wild cards. They were sent to territories where the Emperor's influence had not yet taken hold, and they were tasked with bringing these regions into the fold, often by any means necessary. The rogue traders' dealings with Xenos races, with alien artifacts, and with knowledge that could be deemed dangerous by the more orthodox branches of the Imperium might have provided them with insights into the Emperor's true ambitions, insights that were never shared with the wider public. Take, for example, the infamous rogue trader, Lord Militant Jagatai Slan. Though his name is mostly lost to history, his exploits in the territory he uncovered during the Great Crusade are still whispered about by those in the know. It's said that Slan, much like the Emperor himself, had a vision of a united human empire that stretched far beyond the boundaries of the known galaxy. His missions often took him to the furthest reaches of space, where he encountered alien technologies that could have shaped the Emperor's plans in ways we can only speculate. The artifacts he returned with were said to be some of the most advanced and dangerous technology ever discovered, possibly even predating the Imperium itself. Could these discoveries have been the key to unlocking the Emperor's true vision for the future of humanity? Was Slan privy to secrets about the Emperor's ultimate goal that no one else could have understood at the time? But there's a darker side to the rogue trader's activities, one that hints at a deeper involvement in the Emperor's plans. Rogue traders were not simply benign explorers. They were, by necessity, ambitious, often ruthless individuals who sought to gain power for themselves as much as they did for the Emperor. Some rogue traders became embroiled in deals with the most dangerous factions of the galaxy, including those who would later become enemies of the Imperium. Could some rogue traders have been involved in the early days of the heresy, secretly working to undermine the Emperor or gain an advantage for themselves? The idea that rogue traders were privy to knowledge of the Emperor's downfall, or that they might have even played a role in the unfolding tragedy, is a tantalizing one. Perhaps they knew something about the Emperor's true nature, something that others did not. After all, they had the freedom to explore without the constraints that bound others in the Imperium. One theory that has persisted among fans is that some rogue traders were, in fact, sent to distant worlds, not just to conquer, but to uncover hidden knowledge that the Emperor could not, or would not, share. These rogue traders, given their power and autonomy, were uniquely positioned to uncover the lost relics of the past. Ancient technologies, forgotten civilizations, and lost secrets could have been hidden away, only to be discovered by these enterprising individuals. Were they meant to uncover something about the Emperor's origins, or perhaps his connection to the warp? The fact that many rogue traders were able to operate on the fringes of imperial society, with little interference from higher authorities, suggests that the Emperor may have trusted them with information that could not be openly shared with the rest of the Imperium. This knowledge, locked away in the hands of the rogue traders, could be key to understanding the true scope of the Emperor's vision and the dark truths that lay behind it. Another interesting theory revolves around the rogue trader known as Octavia De Carlo, who was said to have uncovered ancient ruins on a distant world during the Crusade. These ruins, according to her reports, contained symbols and technologies that were eerily similar to those used by the ancient Aeldari. What if De Carlo stumbled upon the secret history of the galaxy's most ancient races? What if the Emperor, in his quest to unite humanity, was not only battling Xenos threats, but was also uncovering hidden knowledge that could be used to manipulate or control the galaxy itself? The possibilities are endless, and it's likely that rogue traders like De Carlo were the only ones with the access and freedom to discover such secrets. But even with all the knowledge they accumulated, many rogue traders kept their discoveries to themselves. Why? Was it out of loyalty to the Emperor, or was it because they feared the consequences of revealing what they had learned? Perhaps, like the Mechanicum, they understood that the Emperor's grand design was far more complex and dangerous than anyone realized. They knew that the truth of his ambitions, his manipulation of psychers, his secret plans for humanity's future, was too volatile to be shared. Rogue traders, in their search for power and knowledge, may have uncovered things that the Emperor himself was unwilling to confront. The role of the rogue traders in the Great Crusade was vital, yet largely unexplored, and perhaps this is why they remain such a tantalizing mystery. Did they learn the true purpose of the Emperor's campaign? Did they uncover the dark secrets of his grand design? The answers, if they exist, may never be fully revealed, locked away in the vaults of the rogue traders themselves. But one thing is certain: the rogue traders of the Great Crusade were more than just explorers. They were potential witnesses to the Emperor's greatest secrets, and their legacy may hold the key to unlocking the mysteries of the Imperium's birth. The whispers of the Imperium's dark secrets are always there, lingering in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. These secrets, tucked away in the recesses of history, are often spoken of only in hushed tones, and for good reason. The living witnesses of the Great Crusade, those few who remain from those tumultuous years, are the only ones who could reveal the true nature of the Imperium's origins. Yet, many of them remain silent, reluctant or perhaps even afraid to speak out. What is it that they know that they are keeping from the galaxy? Are these secrets deliberately hidden to protect humanity, or is there a darker motive at play, one that could shake the very foundations of the Imperium if revealed? The fact that there are those who choose to keep silent speaks volumes. There is an undeniable air of mystery surrounding the surviving figures of the Great Crusade, figures like Malcador the Sigillite, certain members of the Adeptus Custodes, and perhaps even some of the surviving rogue traders and Mechanicum figures. These individuals were closer to the Emperor than anyone else. They knew things about the Emperor's plans, his true nature, and the sacrifices he was willing to make to ensure humanity's dominance across the stars. But as the years passed and the Imperium became more dogmatic, more obsessed with its own survival, these truths were buried. And the witnesses, those who could speak of them, chose to remain silent. What did they see that made them keep their lips sealed? One theory is that these witnesses were afraid of the consequences of revealing the truth. The Imperium, after all, is a brutal, unforgiving empire that thrives on loyalty and unquestioning obedience. To speak out against the Emperor, even after his death, could lead to accusations of heresy, treason, or worse. Perhaps the living witnesses know that the revelations they hold could tear apart the fabric of the Imperium itself, revealing cracks in its very foundation. The idea that the Emperor's vision was not as pure as the Imperium believes could cause unrest, rebellion, and chaos. In a galaxy already teetering on the edge of annihilation, such a revelation might be the final straw that brings the entire edifice of the Imperium crashing down. But then, there is the darker possibility. What if these witnesses are not keeping the truth hidden out of fear of what will happen to the Imperium, but because they have something to gain by keeping it concealed? Theories abound that some of these survivors might be holding on to the truth for their own personal gain, using their knowledge as leverage to maintain power. Malcador, for example, was not just the Emperor's right hand, but also a key architect of the Imperium's political and military structure. Could he have known more about the Emperor's true intentions than he ever let on? Some fans believe that Malcador may have understood that the Emperor was not the savior of humanity, but a ruler willing to make unimaginable sacrifices, including the use of forbidden knowledge and dark practices. What if Malcador, in his own way, decided that the truth was too dangerous to reveal, even to the Emperor's closest allies? The Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's personal guard, are another fascinating group to consider. These warriors, who swore an oath to protect the Emperor at all costs, may have witnessed things during the Crusade that could shake the very foundations of the Imperium. Their loyalty to the Emperor is legendary, yet it is difficult to imagine that they were entirely unaware of the darker aspects of his plan. What did they know about the Emperor's true nature, and how much of that knowledge were they willing to share? Did they know about the Emperor's manipulation of psychers, or about his use of dark, forbidden technology to further his vision of a united humanity? The Custodes were charged with guarding the Emperor, but who was guarding them from the truth? Some fan theories suggest that the Custodes may be aware of things that others simply cannot fathom, secrets that are far too dangerous to reveal. And then there are the whispers about the Mechanicum, the faction responsible for much of the Imperium's technological advancements. The Adeptus Mechanicus is a faction deeply entrenched in secrecy, and their role in the Emperor's grand plan is one of the most mysterious aspects of the Great Crusade. It is well known that the Emperor had a complicated relationship with the Mechanicum, one that was marked by both cooperation and suspicion. Some believe that the Mechanicum knew far more about the Emperor's true vision than they let on. Could it be that they were aware of the Emperor's plans to sacrifice everything, even his own soul, for the survival of humanity? Perhaps the Mechanicum kept their knowledge hidden, knowing that to speak of it would be to risk the wrath of the Emperor's loyalists. But could there have been members of the Mechanicum who wanted to see the truth revealed? Individuals who saw the Emperor not as a god, but as a ruler whose methods were far darker than anyone could have imagined? As time has passed, the Imperium has become a place of superstition and dogma, with the truth of its origins buried beneath layers of myth and legend. But there are those who still remember the Emperor's true nature, those who were there, who saw the rise of the Imperium firsthand. These living witnesses are the last remnants of a time that has been lost to history, and they hold the keys to understanding what really happened during the Great Crusade. Yet, they remain silent. Why? Are they hiding the truth to protect the Imperium, or are they hiding it to protect themselves? Are they afraid of the consequences, or do they simply not want the galaxy to know what the Emperor truly was? These questions remain unanswered, and it's possible that we will never know the full extent of the secrets that are hidden in the hearts of these survivors. The significance of these hidden truths is not to be underestimated. The galaxy has been shaped by the lies and half-truths that have been told about the Emperor, and the living witnesses who remain are the only ones who can offer a glimpse into the reality of the Great Crusade. The Imperium, for all its power and glory, is built on a foundation of secrets. And as long as those secrets remain hidden, the truth will continue to haunt the galaxy. What are the witnesses hiding? Perhaps the answer is more terrifying than we could ever imagine. As we wrap up our exploration of the living witnesses of the Great Crusade and the secrets they hold, it's hard not to feel a sense of awe mixed with trepidation. The Imperium, for all its grandeur and unyielding power, is a construct built on half-remembered truths and half-forgotten horrors. The living witnesses who still carry the weight of that history are both a blessing and a curse. They are the last vestiges of a time that has shaped the galaxy as we know it, and yet they carry with them secrets that could unravel the very fabric of the Imperium if ever fully revealed. The tragedy is that these survivors, these silent keepers of the past, remain locked in a complex dance of loyalty, fear, and self-preservation. Some of them may have seen the Emperor for what he truly was, a visionary who sought to unify humanity at any cost, even at the cost of his own soul. Others may have witnessed the horrors of the heresy and the bitter betrayals that followed, carrying with them the weight of knowing the truth about the Emperor's plans and the terrible price paid by those who dared to challenge him. The fact that they remain silent, whether out of loyalty or fear, means that the answers we seek are buried deep, hidden in the shadows of history. But even as these witnesses remain silent, their knowledge is not entirely lost. The whispers of their secrets can still be heard in the dark corners of the Imperium, in the hidden archives of the Adeptus Mechanicus, in the forgotten temples of the Inquisition, and in the stories passed down by the few who dare to speak of them. The truth, however obscured, remains just beyond our reach, tantalizingly close yet forever out of our grasp. Perhaps one day, when the stars align and the right individuals come forward, the hidden truths will be uncovered. The fate of the 2 and F-th legions, the Emperor's true vision, the motivations of the traitor Primarchs, and the dark secrets that still haunt the Imperium will come to light. But until then, we are left with fragments, glimpses of a past we can never fully understand. The question remains, however, is it better for these truths to stay hidden? Is the Imperium better off with its myths and half-truths, or would the galaxy be forever changed by the revelation of the full story? Some might argue that humanity is better off with the veil of mystery, for the truth could shatter the foundation of the Imperium. Others might say that we are owed the truth, that we deserve to know what really happened during those formative years and what the Emperor truly intended for us. The answers lie with the witnesses, those few who still remember, and until they speak, we can only speculate. So, as we close this chapter of the story, I leave you with this. What would the galaxy look like if the truth were revealed? Could the Imperium survive the shock of its true origins? Could humanity, still so entrenched in its myths, handle the weight of the reality of its creation? These are the questions that we must ask ourselves as we continue our journey into the dark corners of Warhammer 40K's history. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden truths of the Great Crusade and the witnesses who hold them, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The story of the Imperium is far from over, and there are many more secrets to uncover. So join me again as we continue to peel back the layers of this dark and twisted universe, one mystery at a time.